Imagine living for 75 years, decades filled with joy, heartbreak, love, and regret, only to realize that the most valuable lessons in life don't come from books or classrooms. They come from experience. But here's the catch. By the time you truly understand them, it's almost too late to change anything. Meet Mr. Harold, an 82-year-old man who has seen it all. He's buried loved ones, made mistakes he can never undo, and let opportunities slip away, thinking there would always be more time. But he has also experienced deep love, moments of pure happiness, and wisdom that only comes with age. Sitting on his porch one evening, he told me, "If I could go back and tell my younger self just a few things, I would, but I can't. So instead, I'll tell you." And that's exactly what I'm here to do today. Let me share 6 powerful life lessons. Lessons that took over 75 years to learn, but will take you just 20 minutes to understand. Watch until the end, because the last lesson, that one changed everything. Lesson 1. Time waits for no one. Henry was 82 years old when he finally realized something that had been slipping through his fingers his entire life. Time doesn't stop for anyone. He had spent years convincing himself that there was always tomorrow. Tomorrow, to take that trip he always dreamed of. Tomorrow to call his childhood best friend. Tomorrow to tell the people he loved how much they truly meant to him. But one day, as he sat alone in his quiet home, staring at old photographs, it hit him. So many of those tomorrows were already gone. That evening, Henry did something he should have done decades ago. He picked up the phone and dialed a number that had been buried in his memory for 40 years. His hands trembled as he waited, unsure if the person on the other end would even remember him. But when the voice answered, it was unmistakable. "Henry? Is it really you?" And then came the words that broke him. "I thought you had forgotten me." Tears streamed down Henry's face. He had let 4 decades slip away, assuming there would always be another chance. In that moment, Henry understood the brutal truth. Time doesn't pause while we hesitate. The people we care about won't be around forever. The opportunities we keep postponing won't always be there. Life moves forward, whether we're ready or not. And sometimes, when we finally decide to act, it's already too late. So, what about you? Is there someone you've been meaning to call? A dream you've been waiting to chase? A simple "I love you" you've been putting off saying? Don't wait. You might think you have more time, but the truth is, none of us really know how much we have left. If something truly matters to you, do it now. Because one day, just like Henry, you might realize that waiting was the biggest mistake of all. Lesson 2. Health is your greatest wealth. At 77, Mrs. Eleanor found herself struggling with something she had once taken for granted. Movement. Simple tasks like getting out of bed, walking up a flight of stairs, or even reaching for a cup in the cabinet had become painful. She was once full of energy, the kind of woman who could dance in the kitchen while cooking, who never said no to an afternoon walk. But over the years, she ignored the small signs. Aches in her knees, constant fatigue, the extra weight creeping in from poor eating habits. She always thought, "I'll take care of it later." But later never came. One day, sitting in her doctor's office, she heard the words that would change her life forever. If you had taken care of yourself 20 years ago, you'd be living pain-free today. It was a hard truth to swallow. She had spent years prioritizing everything else, work, family, obligations, while neglecting the one thing that would determine the quality of her later years, her health. She realized she couldn't turn back time, but she could decide what her future would look like. That very day, Eleanor made a commitment to herself. She started making better choices, not extreme changes, but small, consistent ones. She chose nourishing foods over processed junk, moved her body every day, even if it was just a short walk, and practiced daily gratitude for the health she still had. Over time, she felt a shift, not just physically, but mentally. She wasn't just surviving, she was reclaiming her life. The lesson is simple but powerful. Your health is your greatest wealth. Money can buy comfort, but it can't buy the ability to move freely, to wake up without pain, to live without relying on medications. And the decisions you make today will determine whether your later years are filled with vitality or struggle. So don't wait for a doctor's warning to wake you up. Start now. Care for your body while you still have the choice, because once it's gone, no amount of regret can bring it back. Lesson 3. People come and go, but inner peace stays. Mr. Joseph was 80 years old, but his heart carried the weight of decades of resentment. He had spent years holding on to grudges, against an old business partner who had betrayed his trust, against a lifelong friend who had walked away when he needed him most, even against his own son, for words spoken in anger long ago. He told himself he had every right to be angry, that they didn't deserve his forgiveness, so he held on to the pain, gripping it like a shield, as if it would protect him from being hurt again. But one evening, as he sat alone on his porch, he had a realization that shook him. The people he resented? They had moved on. They weren't sitting in the dark replaying the past. Only he was, and with every passing year his anger had done nothing but build walls around him, keeping him trapped in a prison of his own making. That night, Joseph made a decision. One he wished he had made years ago. He let go, not because they deserved it, but because he deserved peace. He whispered words of forgiveness into the night, not expecting anything in return, but simply to release the burden he had been carrying for far too long. And for the first time in years, he felt light, free. The truth is, people will come and go in your life. Some will hurt you, some will disappoint you, and some will leave without explanation. But holding on to resentment only hurts one person, you. Forgiveness isn't about making them feel better. It's about setting yourself free. So if there's anger in your heart, let it go. Not for them, but for yourself. Because inner peace is the one thing no one can take from you, unless you let them. Lesson 4. Happiness comes from simple things. Mrs. Ruth spent most of her life chasing what she thought would make her happy. A bigger house, a higher salary, more recognition. She worked tirelessly, always setting the next goal, always reaching for something just out of grasp. If she could just achieve a little more, she told herself, she would finally feel fulfilled. But no matter how much she accumulated, true happiness always seemed to be just beyond the horizon. Then, one quiet afternoon at 79 years old, she found herself sitting under a large oak tree with her grandson. There were no grand achievements in that moment, just a soft breeze, the sound of laughter, and the warmth of a small hand in hers. As she listened to his innocent stories, She felt something she hadn't in years. Pure joy. It wasn't from success, wealth, or anything she had spent decades working for. It was from something so simple, so human. And in that moment, she whispered to herself, "Why did I wait so long to realize this?" Looking back, Ruth saw the truth with painful clarity. Happiness had never been in the things she collected, but in the moment she had been too busy to notice. The quiet conversations, the shared meals, the walks at sunset, these were the treasures of life, not the material possessions she had once valued so much. We live in a world that tells us to chase more money, more success, more things. But in the end, none of that truly matters. What stays with us are the simple joys, the laughter of a loved one, the warmth of the sun on our skin, the peace of a quiet morning. So don't wait until it's too late to appreciate what really brings happiness. Joy isn't in things, it's in moments. And the best part? Those moments are already around you, waiting to be noticed. Lesson 5. Regret hurts more than failure. Mr. Thomas had a secret dream, one he never dared to speak about. He wanted to paint. As a young man, he would watch artists bring life to blank canvases, mesmerized by the way colors blended and stories unfolded through brushstrokes. But every time he thought about trying, doubt crept in. What if I'm not good enough? What if people laugh at me? So he pushed the dream aside. Year after year, he told himself it was too late. Then, at 80 years old, something changed. He found himself sitting in his quiet home, surrounded by years of routine, but lacking the one thing he had always longed for, the courage to try. So, for the first time in his life, he picked up a paintbrush. His hands were shaky, his strokes uneven, but his heart was full. It wasn't perfect, but it was his. One afternoon, his granddaughter found him painting by the window, completely lost in the moment. She asked, "Grandpa, do you regret not starting earlier?" He smiled, a hint of sadness in his eyes, and said, "I regret waiting, but I don't regret starting." That single sentence held decades of wisdom. Fear had stolen years from him, but the simple act of beginning had given him something even greater: peace. The truth is, failure isn't what haunts people in old age. Regret does. The chances not taken, the dreams left untouched, the passions ignored out of fear. Fear fades over time, but regret lingers, settling deep in the soul, whispering, "What if?" So if there's something you've been putting off, a dream, a goal, a passion, start now. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to begin. Because in the end, you won't regret failing. You'll regret never trying. Lesson 6. Love, in the end, is what truly matters. At 90 years old, Mrs. Margaret had seen it all. Decades of change, moments of joy, seasons of loss. She had outlived many of her friends, watched loved ones come and go, and let go of things she once thought were important. As she sat in her favorite chair, staring out the window at the world she had lived in for nearly a century, someone asked her, "What do you cherish most from your life?" She didn't mention the house she worked so hard to buy. She didn't talk about her career, the money she made, or the achievements she once chased. Instead, she simply smiled and said, "The people I loved, and the ones who loved me back." It was a simple answer, but it held the deepest truth. When everything else fades, the success, the possessions, even the memories, love is what remains. The kindness you've given, the bonds you've nurtured, the warmth of a hand held in difficult times. Those are the treasures that don't fade with age. Yet too often, we prioritize everything but love. We work too much. We let small arguments build walls. We assume there will always be more time to say, "I love you." But time moves fast. And in the end, it won't be the things we own that bring us comfort. It will be the people who stood by us, the laughter we shared, and the love we gave without hesitation. So while you still have time, choose love. Prioritize family. Call your friends. Be kind, even when it's hard. Because when all is said and done, love is the only thing that truly lasts. Conclusion. Life is fleeting, and the lessons we learn often come too late. But today, you've heard 6 powerful truths from those who have lived long enough to understand what truly matters. Time waits for no one. Health is wealth. Inner peace is priceless. Happiness is in simple things. Regret hurts more than failure. And in the end, love is all that remains. Now, it's up to you. Will you wait decades to realize these lessons? Or will you start living by them today? If this video resonated with you, let me know in the comments. Type 9 if you'll embrace these lessons, or 0 if you wish you had learned them sooner. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you found value in this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, take care. Cherish your time, and most importantly, live with love. See you in the next video.